Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. You probably noticed that I'm not wearing my usual GoIndieNow t-shirt to start the show, and there's a good reason for it. Because this episode is all about giving back. Case in point, the shirt I am wearing. It's a cause very near and dear to my heart. Being a Marine and having been stationed overseas, I know how hard it is just to get a little taste, a little reminder of back home. And there's a lot of people for which books are their outlets. So this organization, created by fellow indie author Armand Rosamilia, is called Authors Supporting Our Troops. And what Armand does so brilliantly is he collects books from us indie authors and sends them to soldiers overseas. It's a good cause and an easy way to give back. So if you're an author and you want to know how you can send some books, you can go to the group's Facebook page, which is facebook.com/groups/ASOT2014. Join the group, message Armand, and he'll give you all the details.
In the morning when it's all over, I'm gonna lay one down. And if I see my brother's been falling, I'm gonna lay one down. Lay one down for my brothers, lay one down for my foes, lay one down for one another, lay one down and let it go.
My first guest this month is a filmmaker, a producer, and co-owner of Sealy Studios out of Arizona. Now, Sealy is a web-based production company that does mainly web series and specials, but they also have done commercials and films. But above all else, Eric Schumacher is and always will be an actor. He was practically born to be an actor. He started at a very early age, watching his father and mother be actors. So it's always been in his blood. And not only is being an actor important to him, but helping other actors and being a part of the indie community. He's a big part of giving back and helping people live their dreams. He helped a band get out there. You know, he's not a music guy. He even admits that in our interview. But this band, he liked what they were doing. They asked for his help, and he provided for them. Not only that, but he's a fighter of great causes. I mean, he was part of a team that won a federal grant from the United States Small Business Administration to form a women's business center in Tucson, known as the Micro Business Advancement Center. So, I mean, Eric is a perfect person to interview this month. And this is a great interview. Enjoy it. Go check out the podcast and hear the entire thing as well. All right, guys, enjoy. So tell everybody about your early background, where you come from, and how you got started.
My early background, well, I have been an actor really since I was about, I think, 6 years old, although my parents have told me that that they saw the signs much earlier than that. My dad tells a story that I was maybe 3 years old, he said, and he was auditioning for a play in Los Angeles, and it was a Shakespeare play, and he was doing the Alas Poor Yorick scene with the skull. And my mom and I were sitting in the audience in the theater in the audition hall, and for some reason he saw some movement or something in the middle of his monologue, and he looked over, and I wasn't in my seat, and then he looked in front of him, and I was standing there looking at him on stage. And so he put the skull down and did the rest of the monologue to me in front of the casting director. And that was how he knew I had the bug. Because I couldn't stand to not be on stage. I wanted to participate in Shakespeare at 3 years old. So later we used to do. I mean, my first engagement in training was actually at about 6 years old, running lines from Hamlet with my dad.
Have you been on the stage recently, or has it been a while?
It's been a while. I actually had to make a decision a few years ago when people were trying to cast me in films, which is a good thing. And at one point, I was in 2 theater productions and rehearsals for a third. And someone asked me, we really want you for this film. Can you just tell us when you would be available for this? And I said, Friday at midnight, maybe, because I had no time. I mean, I was doing nothing but theater. And I realized that much as I love the theater, I had to make a decision to, as to what my focus was going to be, because I couldn't do it all. And I also have a deep passion for film, and I just turned all my gears towards electronic media.
So what do you miss about the stage?
Well, it's that immediate reaction. It's a symbiotic relationship between you and the audience when you're on stage. And you can feel if they feel you. And if it's a really good show, then you're giving something to the audience. They're giving you feedback in terms of their live reactions, and you're handing it back to them and back and forth, and it becomes like you're all a part of the same mechanism.
What role haven't you played yet in a film that you would like to play? It doesn't have to be like a famous person, but maybe like a certain character or something. That's
a really good question. Since my gears are really turned towards film right now, on that note, I mean, I have actually had the opportunity to play a couple of characters recently that were on my short list. Last year I played Wyatt Earp for a television show, and this past several months ago I got to play Doc Holliday for a feature film directed by Alex Cox, which is like 2 checks right there. And that was pretty awesome. That's in post right now. I was actually I have wanted to play Doctor Strange for 2 decades.
Okay.
And so at least it's Benedict Cumberbatch.
I was gonna say he beat you to it.
I was pretty pissed when somebody was cast in that role, and then I went, all right, but it's him. I guess it's all right. But, I did like a short film years and years ago where I played a superhero, and I'd love to do more of that.
So I've heard that you are the master of the cattle calls, the mass auditioning process. So and you've been very successful at them. So what's one key you would give young actors going into those types of auditions?
Well, yeah, I have done a lot of cattle calls and actually managed to get cast. I've taught a bit about this, and I do some personal coaching very infrequently, but when I do, one of the things that I always tell people is that regardless of whether you're in a cattle call audition or you are in a scheduled audition where they're looking forward to seeing you and expecting you, the key is to really focus on bringing something distinct to the character and finding that character as quickly as possible. When you're sitting there waiting to be called, there's a temptation to socialize, there's a temptation, you have your nerves, there's a lot to distract you, and I think it's really important to just, especially if it's a cold, with a lot of cattle calls, you don't get the sides in advance. Yeah. So handed a script before you walk in. Sometimes you have the opportunity to just do a monologue, and if you do, that's great. Then you've had your time to prep, but make sure you get your head in the game before you walk in there, and you are ready to not only be extremely pleasant and friendly and to everybody you meet there, but also to really, really, really focus in and nail your performance. But if you've got sides, then it's important to study the art of quickly developing a distinct and unique and fully fleshed out character. Mm-hmm. You may not this is some advice my dad gave to me, which I passed on to a lot of people, which is that when you are auditioning, you are frequently not auditioning for that role, even if you think you are auditioning for that role. You're auditioning for people. And so I try to go into an audition like I'm here to play and meet people. I'm here to work on my art, work on my craft, and I'm here to meet people and let go of how much I want or not want that role, and just focus on, okay, let's take a look at the script and see what I can figure out about this character. Let's play the game of, who is this person? You know, Stanislavski's 4 concentrations. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? What do I want to do? And let me get that really solid in my mind and see where I can find pieces of my own personality that I can extract into this and bring them something that maybe they haven't seen yet.
What mistake do you see young filmmakers make all too often?
I'd say the biggest one, and I actually have heard this from a number of other producer friends of mine, including a really good one just recently, who reminded me of what they see all the time: lack of time in pre-production. It's, you know, I think that if you're just starting out as a film producer, you've got to realize that making a film, a lot of we in the film industry equate making a film to being at war, and that's basically because it's really challenging, it's really stressful. You're doing something that's close to impossible all the time, and you have to be prepared to plan to the nth degree and then adapt your plan based on what happens. But if you don't have a plan going in, you're going to be in real trouble real fast.
How did Sealy Studios start, and what are you guys doing currently and getting ready for in the future?
Oh, exciting stuff, actually. So Sealy Studios is a small production organization in Tucson, Arizona, where I am currently. And it actually started a number of years ago under the banner of Pulp Gamer Media, long before I came into the organization. And it was started by a brilliant guy named Don Dem, who's a very dear friend of mine, and a business partner who's since passed away. And what they were specializing in at the time was doing branded entertainment and content marketing videos for the role-playing game and board game world. So they did a really cool project that lasted 13 seasons. It was a web series called The Bob and Angus Show for a company called Mayfair Games, which is one of the largest board game manufacturers in the world. And that was kind of the banner project of the company, and they did a bunch of other stuff for other game companies. And I met Don actually when I worked as an actor for him once, and we just totally hit it off. And I was in development on a web series myself at the time, which has since launched and is doing okay. And we just kept talking and talking and talking, and we started brainstorming, and we had a lot of real, a lot of things in common. And as part of that whole makeup, I was asked to direct a new science fiction web series, which is in post-production right now, called My Stolen Time Machine. And we shot 26 episodes of that series, and we're in post right now, getting ready to launch it. And as part of that whole thing, Don and the other partners invited me to become a partner in the organization, to which I said, I was waiting for you to ask.
So tell me, what does the term indie really mean to you?
Well, first of all, let me qualify this by saying that I've done non-indie projects, and I will do them again. I'm more than happy to. I want to get into bigger productions, even as my notoriety hopefully grows, and I'm able to get into larger and larger and better funded projects. You pegged it. My nature is indie. So what that means is that as my notoriety and hopefully financial wherewithal grows, that's going to turn right back into indie projects. I think the nature of indie is this. The nature of independent is groundbreaking.
Wow.
What we do is break ground. What we do is we innovate because we have no choice, and because we are, at our core, we're mostly artists. Most of us generally have less of a business mind, which can be to our detriment, than folks in the studio system.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, because we have less of that business mind, we're the ones who create the light bulb.
What's been your key to your staying power? What has driven you to stay in the business and persevere?
It just comes down to that I have to do this. There's no alternative for me. I'm an actor. I'm a filmmaker. I have many other skills, and I hate using all of them. This is my passion, and even when it gets very difficult, and it does frequently. Even when I'm putting a lot at risk, and I'm always putting a lot at risk, either emotionally as an actor, or financially as a producer, or in all ways as a director. It comes down to that there. I'll say this. I've said this many times, and I will say it again, and I'll probably say it on other shows, and I'll say it on lectures. One of my mentors, a guy named Paul Mantee. If you look him up on IMDb, he had a very long career. He was actually my dad's best friend until he passed away fairly recently. He taught me a lot about the business, and the best piece of advice that he ever gave me is probably the best piece of advice I've gotten about the business in general, and it is this, which is, if you can possibly think of anything that you could do with your life that would make you feel fulfilled other than this, go do that. Because this is incredibly difficult, and it will take a lot from you. However, if you cannot, then you are an actor, filmmaker, artist, whatever, and that's what you got to do, so you better figure out how.
My many thanks to Eric Schumacher for that great interview. Definitely go check out his studios, Sealy Studios. They're doing some pretty cool stuff online, and they've got a lot of great shows and content to share with you, so definitely check that out. And in the spirit of giving, I want to mention one thing, and that is, at the end of this show, you want to stick around to the end, because I have something I want to give all of you. And it's not just words of encouragement and advice this time. All right. Well, look forward to that. In the meantime, we'll be right back.
Face a day without a hiccup. Don't wanna hear message. There ain't no second guesses.
Remembering those lost days, we people went the sadness. Doesn't matter what anyone says, whether living life or dead. But lost time and lost rhymes, the desperate needs and distraught.
My next guest is author Kathryn Kemp Guylay. Now, Kathryn has written both a children's and adult book in the wellness category, which is something that she's passionate about, no doubt. But it's almost more like she's on a mission. And part of that is her being executive director of a nonprofit organization called Nurture, which is an organization that works with communities in collaborative ways to enhance nutrition and wellness of children and families. Her books, Give It a Go, Eat a Rainbow, and Mountain Mantras, certainly give you an insight into Kathryn's personality. But she is just one of those spirits that lights up a room. She's just an amazing person to talk to, a lot of fun. And she doesn't take herself too seriously, even though we're talking about very serious subjects. And it was quite refreshing, actually. So, everybody, enjoy the interview. Kathryn, you have a very focused and personal mission. Talk about how it all started and why you chose the medium, or sort of chose the medium of publishing to tell it.
Wow. So there are so many ways to communicate in this world, especially today. And as we just talked about, I'm not the most techno savvy person. So I'm a little old fashioned as far as I still read physical books. I'm still not an e-reader. But I feel like, so I've been involved with, in-person trainings, and my nonprofit work is with schools and with other nonprofits and food pantries. And the thing is, there's only so many people that you can reach. It was very difficult to scale up the organization to the size where we had enough people, but for me, the book was a way to reach more people quickly with the same messages. And it's just so fun to find out that you can actually change people's behavior through something like a book.
You started your journey in publishing by trying to get these books traditionally published, correct?
Oh, I have such a funny story. Yes. So I'll just tell you about the children's book. So the traditional publishing industry has its guidelines that they've been following for so many decades. So you just kind of have to decide, do you want to fit do you want to be that round peg that goes into the round hole, or do you want to do something that you feel based on your own experience works, and that maybe is that square peg trying to go into the round hole. And with the kids' book, our book, the one that I just completed with my son, peer-to-peer messaging based on programs that I've been doing for 10 years that I know work, but you could not tell the story in the typical 32 pages that a traditional publisher requires for a children's book. It's 54 pages. And they said, no way, it'll never work. kids won't like it. They won't, they'll lose interest. And we went with something called augmented reality. And it's hysterical that Pokemon Go is now this huge hit, because that was predicted by this art teacher that I was working with. I said, what do kids love now? The book should be based on augmented reality. And I said, what is that? And so we said, fine, we're going to try it out. And we did a beta version. We went to hundreds of kids, went across a series of schools, and we sat with them, and the kids were like on their knees, leaning forward into the book, couldn't wait for us to turn the page, because we followed our instincts, our gut, that said, we need to give this story time to develop. And frankly, we need to give these kids credit that they can pay attention. I think we just underestimate kids.
So was there more research on your part that you had to do than you initially thought?
To me, publishing was like a whole new animal, whole new set of characters, people, rules, all that. Talking about many, many, many hours figuring out how to be part of the industry successfully and be professional with the industry. And I think it's important. You can't just, put out a podcast or put out a book or put out some kind of a communication without understanding the whole industry. So I went to conferences, I joined organizations, I read a lot, I did talk to a lot of people.
Give people one tip that you use daily in marketing your books.
Principle here is do 5 things every day. So it's not about, just this sprint approach where you're like, spending, 14 hours a day on marketing, and you're push, and you're coming across as a self-promoter and all that, and you're kind of shoving your messages into people's faces. I think that burns people out when they're listening to you, and I think it burns you out in spreading your messages. But I think if you do 5 things, it could just be, a phone call, an email. Those are 2 things, putting something up on social media. I mean, 5 things every day adds up. And, Jack Canfield tells the story about, yes, I can walk from Santa Barbara to San Francisco. It sounds crazy. If you take 2 steps every day, or 5 steps, you will get there. It'll take a while. But that's really how I view marketing, is just baby steps every day, be consistent.
What principles in running the nonprofit do you apply to running your publishing business? Is there a parallel? Is there something that you take from that and what your experience is with that into what you've done with the publishing?
Absolutely. It's so funny, because sometimes we think that the things that are not related in our lives really are. That's kind of a Steve Jobs kind of principle. He talks about associative fluency, which is connecting the dots and kind of seeing that things that are seemingly unrelated are actually quite related, and they build upon each other. But we have to realize we can't necessarily always see it in the moment. Sometimes we have to look back, and then we go, oh, well, that taught me how to do this and that, So all of our experiences, I think, whether it's education or experiences, even if they're mundane experiences, add up to our foundation. So I do apply that idea of really being there for every moment 100%, whether it's in my nonprofit work or in my publishing work or whether I'm at the radio station. All of those things are important, even if it's just some menial thing that I'm doing, like I'm editing something, or I'm doing some, I talk about, when I cleaned the dishes for the governor one day. I mean, it's all these things actually can be character building. They're building your foundation in every way, in every moment, but you have to be present for it. You can't say, oh, I wish I was doing something else, because then you're not actually in that moment.
You've done a lot of public speaking, and traditionally for authors and publishers, it's a difficult thing, public speaking. We have a lot of introverts and a lot of shy people in our industries. What would you give advice to gaining the confidence and how to start, getting better at public speaking?
Well, I think what people need to remember about public speaking is that whether it is for 2 people or 2,000 people, all it really is a conversation between you and that person. And it might be, if there's 2,000 people in the room, it might be, you know, where you're kind of bouncing back and forth in the room. But it's really no different than having a conversation with one person. And you really need to treat even those smaller groups with the same respect that you give to a big group. So I think, again, back to that idea of being present for everything. I think for me, and what I try to, when I do teach people how to speak. And I think it's very important to get training, you know, before you go out there, because you don't want to have a bad experience where you're terrified and you mess up, right? And then you're, you know, it's this self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh, I'm not a speaker, I'm afraid to speak. Then you mess up and then you fulfill that prophecy. If you start, you know, with lower stakes events, I think that's a really good thing. And I think it's also really good to remember that being present and right before you're about to speak, really centering yourself and remembering that you're there to serve people. And you serve people through your conversation, then amazing things happen. When you're too much about, oh, about me, you know, like if you're too internal, then I think that's where things go awry.
You know, in the industry that you're tackling in terms of the subject matter, I see quite often a lot of people take advantage of people by drawing them in with a video and then trying to get them to pay for a subscription and these things, and you know, they say they're going to give you a tip and then they give you this 45-minute video of really nothing but sell. So how do you get your message out without having to go down that route?
I have attended webinars before where it's like, wait, I'm actually not getting any value out of this. It's just a 45-minute sales call or sales pitch. And that's inappropriate. And I think it can give everybody in that industry a bad name. So we need to be very careful about that. I guess for me, I've really been able to avoid that because I'm in that nonprofit side of it. Mm-hmm. So most of our programs are free. So if somebody's interested in our work, we are supported by donors, by grants, and we are on the hook to provide, you know, value based on the, you know, the donations we receive and the grants we receive. I think that we always have to think about where we're getting the messages from, and then just ask yourself, do they have my best interests in mind? Usually nonprofit organizations do, and any kind of like healthcare or foundation, you know, where they're really interested in our well-being, you can kind of trust those messages. Be wary of somebody that's just trying to sell you something.
Mm-hmm. When you hear the term self-help, what is that? What does that ring to you? What do you think of that term?
I actually love self-help. I think it, you know, kind of has this soft woo-woo reputation, but for me, I think it's actually part of an ongoing, broad, holistic education.
I know you're an indie just simply because we talked about your trials and tribulations with traditional publishing. Tell me what you think the word indie means to you.
You want to be more nimble. You want to be more flexible and faster. Because I think especially when we're talking about, you know, the big 5 publishers and all that, we're talking about years to get things done. And according to this very specific, this leads to that, and you have to do it this way. I don't think that there's one right way to do anything, whether that's loading the dishwasher or going on a health plan. Like, there's just no one right way. And I think indie people and entrepreneurs, you know, we tend to have that philosophy of like, let's try this, and if it doesn't work, we pivot. Mm-hmm. I'll just say there's a saying that says there's nothing new under the sun, right? We're all kind of telling the same stories, and a book oftentimes is just something that's repackaged. Maybe it's like a wine bottle with a new label, but you know, when that new label's on there, you as a singular, you know, segment of one person might be attracted to it, and then you get the goodies inside. You get the lessons or whatever you're supposed to get from it. But if you didn't put that unique label on it, that person would have never been able to consume it and learn from it. So I think we all do have our messages that we need to get out.
So Kathryn's message and cause are very, very clear. You definitely need to go check it out and learn about all that she's doing out there, because she's doing a lot. And my many thanks to her for taking the time to do an interview with me. All right, everybody, we'll be right back.
Hello everyone, this is Jin Okubo at GoIndieNow. Today's book for review is The Lemonade Stand, How to Make a Difference 101 by David Justice, teaching you how to help people, how we can help people. And a lot of times we look at this and we go, well, I can't help people because I don't have money. I can't help people because I don't know what to do. I don't have the basics. I don't have enough of anything. Rich people should help people. And that's a little one-sided and a little bit of a bias that we put ourselves in. If you remember those commercials before, $1 a day will help a needy person somewhere. Well, we don't have to just focus on money. Helping people means finding a cause that you're passionate about, and then having the will to follow through on what you're going to be doing. And that's where we lack. We lack in finding a cause because we want to help in too broad of a sense. With the lemonade stand, you will learn, and as I learned, that finding a cause is not trying to save the world, but saving the people one cause at a time. And then having the will means to making a plan that you're going to stick by. And you will see this is a great read if you want to help people. This is a great read in helping humanity and helping each other, which we should do. We're social beings. Human beings are very social. We live in a society, and a lot of times we don't pay attention to those around us, and this will help us to see the people that are around us and how we can find a cause that we're passionate about and helping them out. So go and pick yourself up The Lemonade Stand, How to Make a Difference 101 by David Justice, and I'm sure you will enjoy this book as much as I did.
G'day everyone, this is Michael J. Elliott, author of Portraits of Dread, as well as the new upcoming book Choice Cuts, A Bite from the Dark Realm, and you're watching Go Indie Now.
Super excited for my next guest. Not only is he a world-class musician, but he dabbles in free-form video art, as he's created some videos for his songs, and based on his songs, he's been able to create and use this filmmaking medium as another outlet for his creativity. But beyond that, Ed Roman is a true philanthropist in every sense of the word. He is a genuine soul that has so much emotional presence and is just really an amazing guy to talk to. He's so much fun. And this is a great interview. All right, enjoy, everybody.
I'm a messenger, I'm a radical, I am love. I'm a messenger, I'm a radical, I am love. Like any other human being who's cruciform control, no longer in search of meaning.
Tell me how this journey began for you. Where did it start, and how did you get your love for music?
Wow, that's an extensive question. And I you know, Joe, I guess it's I was lucky to be in a little tiny farmhouse growing up in a rural community with 3 generations of people in the 1970s. So 8 of us all living in this one place, 2 little bathrooms, 1 shower with a tub. And it was a beautiful Norman Rockwellian kind of existence, hours at the creek, and you could, be home when the lights came on, hide and go seek, and, Victoria Square is still in my heart, even though there's all this growth around it, it's still held in time in my mind. And even when I go back there, I look around, I go, it's like I pulled that photograph from my memory and I'm looking at it again. But music was always happening in my house. My grandmother loved music, grandfather. And with that said, because they were in their 70s and 80s, that Eastern European kind of thing. But Baba, she loved all kinds of stuff like the Beatles, Elvis Presley, Sinatra, Latin American music, whatever turned her on. She was always moving, dancing, singing the tunes. My mom too, she was always teaching me songs at a very young age, and brothers and sisters that were 10, 8, and 6 years older than I was were bringing home all the vinyl and trying to fight for the one record player that we had in the house. That sense of enthusiasm seemed to permeate my house, and my house was this bustling Rubicon of activity where my brother's friends who were, playing cribbage and poker in the basement, all my sister's friends that were hanging out on the porch in the front yard, grandparents' friends that were coming, and relatives with that genre, my dad being in politics and as the mayor of the town as well as a cattleman. There was continually cattle people coming to the house because of the import business that we had. Then there's the political thing that's going on. And it's just like 16 to 25 people in the kitchen, Baba continually making toast and coffee and potato salad and trying to keep people fed. That was my first stage. That's where when my family saw that I was doing these imitations and singing these songs because I loved it, they grabbed me, put me on a chair in the kitchen, and then say, St. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. And so it was like this little sideshow on the side of Ed doing his thing, right? And I guess I saw how potent that was at a really young age.
Just through your songwriting process, where does it begin? Do you start with a riff? Is there a method to the madness, or is it just sometimes I have a lyric, sometimes I have a riff? Where does the song evolve for you?
I kind of don't try to put here's the method. Dum, dum, dum. I still use paper and pen and pencil, whatever, because I like the tactical nature of it. I'm too online, you know what it's like in the 21st century, and having this immediate jump on the information. I've been in the bathtub, I've been in the car, I've been in the back of a van on the road, I've been in a hotel room, I've been walking down the street, but I have to kind of stop to write down that initial idea, because that is, like I said, is the figurehead of it all. Even in the melody idea, if I'm upstairs and I'm noodling around on something, or I'm working on a tune, or just getting my chops ready for a gig, I might find something, and it may even come out of something that's not right. Yeah. That if I listen to it and I start to again follow it, it then presents itself in this way that I'm like, oh, it wants to do this. It wants to go there. And if I try to work it out, the puzzle of what it is, it starts to make more sense to me than if I, by what it's telling me, than if I actually tried to script it all out and think, no, this is logical. That you can write that way. There's some beautiful things that happen as a byproduct of that. But like, again, so if a lyric comes first, I take it that way, and I don't try to force what the chordal arrangement is.
What's one trick you have for recording a song?
With technology today, there's a lot of giveaway. When I go into the studio, however I've written the tune is the initial platform. If it's the bass, then I write it around the bass. If it's behind a kit, I may lay down the group behind the kit, and I've already got the song in my head, so I'm playing out what the arrangement is, and I'm playing it to a click track. But the reason I do that is because that electricity from what I did that sparked me originally will keep kinetically, like electrolytic capacitors, flowing through the song. Mm-hmm. That to me is the biggest thing. And the other aspect of it is have somebody there that's listening to you. That's almost like a third party that's not in the band. Mm-hmm. Mike Jack, and I'm lucky to have him not only as a friend, but as a producer and engineer, he has that wonderful ability to go, no, stop, you got it. Don't disappear with your head up your rear, like, no, we should cut that again. So I guess that's what it is. And having that trust in that person to go, okay, let's move on. I think we really got it here. It's okay.
You do a lot of your own video work for your songs and concepts. For you have long form videos, or I should say short form videos, but longer form than a music video that you've created through around your music. So what do you like about that creative process, and what's different about it for you as opposed to the music?
Like to call them vignettes, old boy. 7.5 minutes. What are you doing? Are you crazy? I don't know. Even when because I have a background in theater, and I love theater and movies and script writing and good character development, and I got a bit of a passion for the old silver screen. I start to see this imaging in my own mind, even when I'm writing the tune, about certain things that need to kind of happen to describe it to people, right? So I guess I have a heyday, Joe, doing it. It's never really a chore. I mean, yeah, okay, 17 hours of editing and doing whatever you're doing is one thing. You're locked up in the studio, but at the end, you're happy with the result. That not only that what you've done, you're pleased with, but when people start coming back and enjoying it, and ends up moving in the charts, and that's a good feeling. It makes me feel like in some ways it needs to be there.
So along those lines, do you design your albums with a concept like that in mind? Do you conceptualize the album to be a concept structure so that everybody gets a little bit of something, or are you just putting songs together as you go and record and say, oh, that would be great to be on this album?
That's a beautiful question, Joe, because I do, and Michael and I think a lot about what that bigger message is. For this newest record, for Red Omen, it's an anagram of my own name. Language is changing. It's always changing. It changes without Webster adds new words all the time. And with that said, the reason it's even like the rooster on the front cover, like an emoticon, is because if you open your smartphone or your computer and you see that app, it represents billions of bits of informational dialogue for you to be able to transmit video, photos, conversation. We're doing it right now. All of that instantaneously. And it's fascinating that from when I was sending packages in the mail with a CD and a letter and a bio and a 8x10 glossy to immediately electronic press kit sent to Singapore. Boom, it's done. Like, it's fascinating. And with that said, then, so if we were to say, hey, man, that's pretty funny, you and I are having a conversation in text, you'd go, LOL.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to say feeling sad about something or whatever else is going on, you might put up an emoticon that's a sad emoticon that's crying, you know, because that's actually saying a lot of things. You're emotional for that person. If you had a conversation, all of that is dictating a dialogue inside of just an image. Our language is doing this now. We're going to a symbolistic formation of our language. Mm-hmm. And as a result, it cuts down on a number of different things, but at the same time, you know, it also shuts off a certain amount of things as far as how we communicate as people. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm fascinated by that. So yes, there was this bigger message in the record basically going, well, language is changing. Think about words. Where do words come from? What do actual words mean?
So we're talking about words. What does the word indie mean to you?
My dad's listening. Be independent. The lone wolf. It's important to reflect and to learn from what you've just absorbed over the course of a day. So I guess that's indie to me means is that you're an independent. You're independent thinking. You're independent in thought and action. You're independent in the fact that I have a lovely small team of people that support me, from Michael Stover to Michael Jack to the musicians that I play with. It doesn't have to be on this corporate level where it's spread out over this thing.
We're sitting here talking about the artistry, and it's just awesome to hear you, you know, talk about where these ideas come from, and it's so beautiful, and it's very ethereal, and just it's very unique, and for artists in nowadays in this business, it's more about that now, you know, as opposed to the poppiness and all that, because the industry has changed so much. But in the same token, it is still a business. So what is the greatest attribute this day and age a musician could attain that would help them within the business? Is it to just have a vision, or is there something more structural that would help them be a part of the music industry as it is now?
That's a wonderful question. And what I've learned, and especially from Michael Stover, because he's a wonderful businessman and he's a great person to talk to about a lot of stuff, you know, shoot from the hip, as it were. And Mike Jack would say the same thing. It's not like you're reinventing yourself all the time, and I hate using that terminology, and I don't know why I did, but what I've learned is that the last 3 records that I've put out, as we've talked about conceptually, I then use as a marketing tool. Mm-hmm. I use everything about it, from the artwork to what the message is, to how I want the information to go out, all a part of the encompassing factor. I guess that's what I mean. As you know, you've reinvented it from album to album. Well, it's a little different from album to album. The artwork's different, the title's different, the tunes are different. I run with that because, again, like a new idea and a song idea, that whole album is a whole fresh plethora of things that keep connecting you into different stuff. So often bands, and I've been in bands before, you release a CD, you have the CD release party, you may have had distribution in the past or whatever, it kind of does its thing. Yeah. But the band isn't using it on that as a marketing tool. And so with the last single that you're talking about, and that's why I'm really happy about the decisions, when I'm getting personal messages from people going, I'm a radical, you know, I'm a messenger, you know, like, I know, okay, it's working. So yeah. What does that do for me? I listen to that. Yeah. I listen to that, even if it's small at first. So what am I doing? I'm having t-shirts, like your lovely t-shirt, GoIndieNow, printed. One just says, I'm a messenger. That's it. Like Frankie Goes to Hollywood. It's simple printing. The next one says, I'm a radical. The other one says, I am love. It's got the name on the back of the website. And there's a fourth one that says all three. And already people are going, well, can I get one of those? Can I get one of those? And I'm like, that's how I listen to what other people are saying, like Mike Stover, Michael Jack, or the people that are enjoying what I'm doing. And that seems to be a big part of my new, I guess, business plan when it comes to thinking about the business of music. And like I said, Mike Stover has taught me a heck of a lot about that. So many musicians practice what they do and get really incredible at their craft, but at the same time, we lack the business skills to be able to properly market ourselves so it has some sense of longevity. That last record before this, Letters, 2 years of incredible longevity outside of a record. Months it was sitting in different charts, and I was like, that's the way it kind of needs to happen.
Yeah.
And with that said, that's what I would say the biggest thing I would say to somebody is market yourself in that way. Utilize your philosophy in the music to show more.
So how much of that is social media, and how much of it do you use, and what are some of your tips for utilizing social media in this aspect?
Well, it's so important, and I mean, I won't lie to you. For years, I poo-pooed Facebook and things, and I was resisting, and I realized very quickly that I just wasn't communicating with people the old-fashioned way. Telephone calls, leaving messages, emails. Within 24 hours of joining Facebook, my first boom on the internet presence, I had people that I've been tracking for 6 months message me, how's it going? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
What's going on here? When I realized that, now when I'm doing a show like this, or any show that I'm playing at, or I'm posting a video that I've just released, or it all becomes a part of that continual channel flow of what social media allows you to offer. So inside of the familiarity of it with people, when they see it and they like it because you're offering interesting, cool things, they'll keep going back.
What an amazing episode this was. We just keep getting lucky with the amount of great guests that are out there, and just super awesome indies that are doing super awesome things. And I'm just glad to be finding them and being introduced to them, and introducing you to some of my friends that I already knew. So it's really great, and we're going to keep doing it. And you may have noticed that I've changed my shirt, and there is a good reason for that. See, we have been asked several times, where do I get one of these shirts? I see them on hosts and people who work in GoIndieNow, but nobody seems else to have them. And it is true, there's only been a select few of people who've actually been able to get one of these shirts. Well, that all changes right now for a short period of time. If you're watching this between now and September 12th of 2016, you'll be able to go and get one of our shirts. You'll also be able to get a hoodie if you want a hoodie with the GoIndieNow logo. If you want a tank top, if you're a tank top person, we have tank tops there as well. We have mugs, coffee mugs. We also have stickers. Lots of great swag that you can get for GoIndieNow with GoIndieNow logo on it. And that goes through September 12th. I may extend it. It just depends on how much interest we get. And I may do it again in the near future if we get a lot of interest, maybe toward Christmas time. And then after that, toward the beginning of the year, we might introduce something new to the fold. And then, eventually at some point, we'll probably go 24/7 with a storefront. But, for now, we're just starting out and we're just building an audience. And we're really grateful to all of you who have supported the show and been a part of it. So I wanted to make that available to you. Okay, everybody. Well, you know what? I can't possibly think of anything I'd rather be doing. And the power of positivity flows through me very good. Because I am a messenger. I am a radical. And I am an indie. And it's always time to go indie now. See you next time.
We are the keepers of the earth, a heritage given to us through birth. Creator took us by the hand and said, this is our land. One day my journey took me far, and what I saw left with me a scar. The air's so full of dirt and smog, and my brothers the birds could not sing their song. We are the keepers of the earth, a heritage given to us through birth. Creator took us by the hand and said, this is our land. As I flew through the air and tried not to be despaired, I watched the river fail to flow, and my brothers the fish with no place to go. We are the keepers of the earth, a heritage given to us through birth. Creator took us by the hand and said, this is our land. And as I watched the tears form in his eyes, the elder spoke of a land he knew as a child. He cried to the youth, it's up to you to help your people and see our Mother Earth through. We are the keepers of the earth, a heritage given to us through birth. Creator took us by the hand and said, this is our land. We are the keepers of the earth, a heritage given to us through birth. Creator took us by the hand and said, this is our land.